It's time to talk about some American Dad Christmas specials. Merry Christmas, everybody! I hope you all have a great Christmas, and I hope you're all watching some wonderful Christmas specials. You know, when it comes to Christmas specials, Seth MacFarlane usually has a very different way to look at them. The majority of Christmas specials from American Dad and Family Guy kind of focus on the greedier sides of Christmas before sprinkling in the pleasantness of it. Episodes like The Most Adequate Christmas Ever and Road to the North Pole are examples of these traits being used. But in all fairness, the majority of his Christmas specials are, well, pretty damn good. Now I'll be talking about the Family Guy Christmas specials next Christmas. But this Christmas, I decided to focus on two certain episodes from American Dad, For Whom the Sleigh Bell Tolls and The Best Christmas Story Never Told. What do I think about them? Well, let's find out. The first episode I'm talking about is For Whom the Sleigh Bell Tolls, which opens with Stan talking to Francine about buying Steve a gun, which, as you can imagine, isn't exactly something Francine is okay with. But Stan, being the loving husband that he is, gives Steve a gun anyway, and takes him out for target practice, which results in, well, this. Oh lord, that's fucked up. Now in all fairness, you do kinda expect something bad to happen, but the way this episode sets this up still catches you off guard. Steve is traumatized at having killed a mall Santa, and Stan tries to get rid of the body, but Francine catches them. And, by the way, I love her reaction. It's another reaction I truly did not expect.
Uh-oh.
The Smiths bury the mall Santa out in the woods, but later find out that someone saw what they did and is now threatening them with some really fucking awesome threatening notes. Well, it turns out the Santa that Steve shot was really Santa.
What an unbelievable coincidence!
And the elves tell the Smiths that Santa isn't dead and he's gonna wage a war on them for what they did. Well, I can't really say I blame him. While this is going on, Roger goes on a quest to find some of the best moonshine in the world, and is told of a blind, four-armed monster that makes this legendary moonshine. And when he arrives, it turns out it's just a redneck named Bob Todd who makes some really good moonshine. And the monster thing?
Do you believe me now?
Makes total sense, actually. Well, the Smiths end up hiding out with Roger and Bob Todd so Santa can't find them. But Jeff, Haley's husband, ends up leading Santa right to them, resulting in one of the most intense wars you'll ever see. Oh my god, this animation is insane. This is probably one of the best animated wars I've ever seen, period. Since Jeff, who's been trying to earn Stan's approval, led Santa to them, Stan tells Jeff that he'll never be a part of their family because all he does is bring trouble. And Santa even tries to get Jeff to join his side since Jeff wasn't part of trying to dispose of him. But after Stan gets knocked out and almost killed, Jeff turns on Santa in order to save Stan.
I didn't do it for you. I did it for Haley. She's my wife. And if you're important to her, you're important to me.
This earns Stan's approval, and Santa ends up retreating. Why? Because they ran out of time. No, that's really it. It was because they only had until Christmas Day to kill the Smiths, and they had to go get ready for next year's Christmas. So Santa vows to try and kill them again next Christmas, which I guess hints that there could be a sequel to this. And honestly, I don't think I'd mind that.
Oh my god! It looks like we found our new Christmas tradition!
Now here are my final thoughts on this episode. Do I think it's for everyone? Oh hell no, and here's why. This episode is nothing but dark humor, and dark humor really isn't for everyone. Now, I hear people defend dark humor all the time. A lot of people seem to have the mindset that humor is automatically good just because it's dark, and the people who hate it only hate it because it's dark. But that's not the case at all. In fact, I argue that dark humor is one of the hardest forms of humor to actually get right. But dark humor does have many different ways of working, and this episode shows all the different ways it can work. The dark humor in this episode is top notch. There are so many things in this episode that are executed perfectly. Murdering an innocent person, no one showing any remorse for the victim, bestiality. They all work here because this episode knows its limits. It knows how long these jokes need to be and how long it can drag them out for, as well as how to work them in to where you see why they chose to make the episode go that way. Not only that though, the title itself is a parody of For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is a novel by Ernest Hemingway that depicts the horrendous brutality of the Spanish Civil War. So this type of dark humor and this violent portrayal of a war between the Smiths and Christmas is a perfect parody of this novel. Also, it's kinda nice to see a Christmas special that isn't totally traditional, tries to put itself out there with something dark and gruesome, and tries to turn Christmas into a straight up war. This feels like something South Park would have come up with, and judging by the fact that this episode, despite being dark, gruesome, and balls to the walls, is one of American Dad's most well-received episodes, I think comparing it to South Park isn't exactly a bad comparison. Yeah, let's just call this episode what it is. One of the best dark Christmas episodes ever.
Merry Christmas!
And next we have the best Christmas story never told, a much lighter Christmas episode. In this episode, Stan starts to feel that Christmas is being killed by everyone being so politically correct and being offended by Christmas, since it's considered a religious holiday.
I mean, if you're not Christian, all this Christmas stuff might make you feel a little uncomfortable.
Even though technically Christmas is a pagan holiday, and people who aren't Christian really shouldn't be offended by it. Anyway, Stan says he blames Jane Fonda for this because of her work during the Vietnam War. And while buying a 99-cent gift for Roger, which, trust me, is important to remember for later on in the story, Stan gets offended after the clerk tells him happy holidays due to having to be politically correct. And then Christmas carolers tell Stan about a rapist loose called the Holiday Rapist instead of the Christmas Rapist. And all of this sends Stan over the edge and he destroys Christmas for his family.
Daddy's breaking all the presents Chinese kids made for me.
The episode then appears like it's going to mock A Christmas Carol when the Ghost of Christmas Past, played by Lisa Kudrow, shows up and takes Stan back to 1974 in order to remind him what Christmas is about. But instead, this happens.
What? Hey, no! Dude, where are you going? You can't run away!
I love this ghost, by the way. I don't know if it's the performance by Kudrow or the writing, but this ghost makes me laugh at almost every opportunity.
Be happy with just being the tooth fairy. No, it's too steady. Live risky, reach for the stars. Well, that's not stardust on your hands, Michelle. It's failure.
After finally tracking down Jane Fonda, Stan overhears Donald Sutherland encouraging Jane Fonda to get involved in politics, making Sutherland Stan's new target. And while waiting for an opportune moment to kill Sutherland, Stan runs into Martin Scorsese.
But you're never gonna win an Oscar hopped up on the dope.
You know what, man? You're right.
You know what's even funnier about this moment now? Is that Martin Scorsese actually did win his Oscar for Best Director only a few months after this episode aired. Another thing about this episode I really like is that it actually seems to have a great grip on how easy it would be to change the future. I mean, I don't mind time travel episodes, but it seems people always change the rules with each episode, and that can be very distracting at times. But this one's by far one of the better time travel episodes. For example, remember that tape I told you about? Well, Stan ends up dropping it, and Roger, of all people, ends up finding it. And because he wants to be famous, he ends up using it to create disco.
You've single-handedly created the disco revolution. Congratulations, you just made your first million.
A 99-cent gift got Roger $1 million in 1974. That's fucking hilarious. But an even better executed time travel plot is that Stan getting Martin Scorsese off of drugs resulted in America becoming Russian.
Getting Scorsese off drugs means he never did all the cocaine that fueled him to make Taxi Driver. Which means he never cast Jodie Foster. Which means John Hinckley never obsessed over her.
Which means Reagan was never empowered by surviving an assassination attempt. He must have lost to Mondale in '84.
Bingo. 47 days into his presidency, Mondale handed complete control of the U.S. over to the Soviet Union.
So the future of America rested on one of the best directors of all time getting hooked on drugs and driving a lunatic to attempt to assassinate one of the most beloved presidents of all time. That sounds like America to a T right there. Well, Stan thinks the best way to save America is to create Taxi Driver. Because, well, in theory, if John Hinckley saw it, he'd try and assassinate Reagan and America would go back to normal. The only issue is, Stan makes the movie terrible because he thinks all he needs is Jodie Foster. And because Hinckley hates it, he doesn't become infatuated with Jodie Foster. So, that leaves Stan with only one thing left to do.
Listen, Stan, I know you love Reagan, but you screwed things up. You have to make them right. You have to shoot the president.
Oh, that's heavy. He has to try and kill his idol to save America. And what's really nice, like what caps this episode off in one of the best ways possible, is that what convinces Stan to shoot his idol, well, it's not Christmas, and it's not to save America, it's this.
Francine, I came back here to save Christmas. But the most important part of Christmas is you and the kids.
I'm actually speechless. Seth MacFarlane's shows seem to miss that mark a lot. But this one got it perfect. Just good job. Really good job. Oh, and the shooting scene? Yeah, it's pretty damn epic.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
To be fair, I do kind of question the aftermath, like who was classified as the shooter. But at the same time, it's not essential to know, and it's not all that distracting. And that's how this episode seemed to be. It focused more on the important things and left the little details to be figured out by your own imagination. So I appreciate that. Overall, this is a wonderful episode. It's clever, it's funny, it's executed flawlessly, and it would definitely have been a top 10 American Dad episode for me. It's an episode I highly recommend so you can see how great this show can actually be.
Oh, you only shot Reagan. No, there is no Brady Bill. You can get a gun like that.
This is the best Christmas ever.
And those were two of my favorite Christmas specials from American Dad. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you all had a great Christmas. Now I have one more Christmas special left. Yes, it's gonna be after Christmas, but I don't want to put another special off like I did during Halloween. So my last video of 2016 will be a worst to first ranking of the South Park Christmas specials. Definitely check those out this Christmas and let me know which ones you guys enjoy the most. And to end this video, it's time for fan art of the video. This video's fan art comes from Dallas Reed Goodrow, who drew me as Santa Claus. That's awesome, I love that, and it's fitting considering the fact that it's Christmas. Thanks for the fan art, Dallas, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you in my last video of 2016.